Is this thing working? Are we live? It looks like we're live. What's happening, everybody? Hope everybody's having a fantastic whatever day that you're watching this. So, talking about the new Charger, there's some kind of interesting things that I decided I wanted to look at when you're just looking at the cars themselves. I don't really care, just for this part of the conversation, what's powering the vehicle that we're talking about, the whether it's the EV, whether it's the 6-cylinder or the V8 in the Challenger. This is something that I'm going to nerd out on you guys for a minute, okay? Because I went down a bit of a nerd, I just kind of escaped, like Alice in Wonderland style, down a rabbit hole. And I decided what I wanted to do is I wanted to look at this car from the point of view of just the size of the dang thing. And guys, I got to admit, I was completely wrong about the size of this. I was going off of some early, like really early information, and it was comparing the Charger against the Charger. And even that wasn't correct. So for you early birds that are in, I want to talk some nerd stuff with you, because this is something that is going to blow your mind about this car. And I'm pulling this right off of, let's see, here we go. This is coming right off of Challenger Talk, finding the actual DIMs for both cars from Road and Track. So this is, it's got a freaking ad here. So this is what I'm going after right here. These are the dimensions for the length, width, and height for these vehicles. So check this out. The Charger is, and I kid you not, it's a full 9 inches longer than the Challenger is. That is a humongous difference. All right. The width of the thing is 2 inches wider. So I was right about that. And the height is something that's kind of crazy. It's 3 inches taller than the Challenger. Guys, I don't know if I can put this into a better format. To tell you that it's bigger isn't doing good enough, but we have width and we got height. What does that mean? We can come up with a rectangle that this thing fits into just on the planet. And how many square inches would this thing be, or rather cubic inches, I should say, of a rectangular box would it have to accomplish? How big is a damn box you got to get to put the bitch in? Is what I'm trying to say. My mouth will freaking work. Sometimes good, smart mouth works not right. So here we go. I'm kind of excited because I went super nerd on this. The Charger, a box to hold a Charger, like if you're giving somebody one of these things as a Christmas present, would have to be able to accommodate 971,066 cubic inches. That is the size of the box that car would fit in. A Challenger would occupy 833,601 cubic inches. 833,601 is less than 971,000, but it's 15% less. Again, and that is a gross margin. All right. So if you divide, we're just going to do 833.6 divided by 971.1. That's 0.858. What does that mean? If you pull one full point from 0.858, that gives you basically 14.2% larger in terms of mass. That means that it takes up 14.2% more of the planet's atmosphere for that thing to just sit there. Are you flipping kidding me? This isn't a situation where the car was just a little bit bigger. 15% is a lot. There's areas I would like to have 15% more length, width, etc. Are you kidding me? It's a shitload different. Now, what exactly does that mean? Okay, well, let's really dive into some nerd here. So if you were to say that 4,200 pounds is roughly the weight of a V8 non-supercharged variant. Divide that by 833,601. Gives you a 0.00503. This pin will work. 0.0050, call it 4. So let's do this. 971,066 times 0.00504. So 100, and if you just do the math based on volume, that comes out to 4,894, basically 4,900 pounds for your internal combustion variant. Now, we're pretty certain that that's really not what the weight's going to be with the newer engine. That's going to lower the weight over the V8. There's other components that may take up that space. The fact that the body of this thing is, oh, and I want to get to that in a minute, because I also figured something else out about the way the thing looks, why it was triggering like a weird uncanny valley for me. Anyway, so there's going to be more dead space in the car. So that could equate to about, say, 200 or 300 pounds in this. But again, just playing around with numbers, right? We're not looking for exacts. But the fact of the matter is this car, as far as how much room it takes up, the box that you have to ship the thing in. Like you're taking this bitch to UPS or FedEx, and you're like, I need to ship this Charger, I need to ship this Challenger. When they put it in a box, that's the difference you're going to see. 15%, guys. Lads, that is a lot, but it's going to weigh significantly more. And I think that's really more the point that I'm driving home here. It's going to weigh significantly more. Let's do this. 4,200 divided by 0.84. Yeah, even if you just do the straight math, it comes out to 5,000. It ain't going down, boys. It's going up, no matter how you cut the math. Another thing. So let's talk about what I want to talk about is the styling. So I figured it out. I was looking at that thing and I was thinking to myself, why is this thing triggering? Like it's a design language that's like, it's like when something tastes a little bit off and you're like, I know something's there. I just can't figure it out. Okay. And this is obvious. When I say this is it's going to make perfectly good sense. And it's going to be as obvious as it. Okay. So the Challenger, the Charger, is a chimera platform, meaning that it is to accommodate an EV or an internal combustion engine, or it can also technically harbor a hybrid power plant. But it's also more so to that, it is the exact same body line for the Charger 2-door and the Charger 4-door. So what's happening here is the roof line is extended to the back to allow for headroom for backseat passengers. It's a hatchback. And I was looking at that and I went, oh, shucks, that's why it's throwing me off. I want to say it was the 1967 AMC Marlin. I'm going to look that up real quick. 1967 AMC Marlin that suffered the same. Yeah, here it is. This car suffered the same affliction. If I can turn this thing sideways. It's a good looking car, but the problem is right here, right there, where it would normally slope down more easily to the back. That's exactly what the Charger is doing. Guys, you're not looking at the back half of a 68 Charger. You're looking at the back half of a 67 AMC Marlin. That's how I remembered it. I remember going, damn it, there's a design language in here and I can't put my freaking finger on it. It looks like a Charger, but it's not. And I know it's kind of got a Mopar flair to it. And the more I dove into it, I'll show you that again. When I show you, you will never be able to unsee this, guys. The whole reason for the Marlin looking like that is on the back part of that car, that it was put together for the back passengers. Here's a better look. Here's the stock version of it. There you go. If this think I'll quit being a bitch. Ah, hang on. Here, I'll show you the back. Oh, this bitch. Oh, it's driving me nuts. Let me see if I can find a better image of this thing. Oh, fucking phones, man. Anyway, that is 100% what it is. Sorry. I'm trying to keep looking this thing up for you guys, and my phone just crashed. Of course it did. Anyway, it's a 67 Marlin. If you've already seen what it was, just look it up. I'm going to try to do this again. Let's go to images. I think this will show. Golly, man, this is terrible. I'm trying to get this thing to pull up, and it is just not doing it. Oh, here you go. Okay. Better looking car from the back. Anyway, there's another one. You will not be able to unsee it once I'm going through and showing you some of these pictures, man. Oh, shit. This is right here. There we go. Now, that's what I'm getting at. That car right here, the reason why that roof doesn't slope down the way it's supposed to. And that's what I was looking at. When I'm looking at the new Charger, I'm going, that's not, it's trying to get the lines of a 68 through 70 Charger, but it's actually nailing the lines of the 67 Marlin. And so anyway, the whole idea, backseat passengers had the headroom. The reason why this is hysterical to me is that the Marlin's a really good looking car, but it's got the right proportions. The new car kind of doesn't. And the more I kept thinking about it, the more I thought, man, this thing is gonna, it's not catching the eye the way that it should. And that's why. So anyway, all right. So let me check in with you guys real quick. Marco is in. He's not liking it. Shane is in. Ken is, what's up, Ken? Saying it's going to be pretty interesting. Skids is in. Got the ball guy with the flex and the right cadence. I like it. Saying good evening, everyone. The Challenger was big when it dropped. It's even heavier. Yes, Stuart, it is even heavier than the previous Charger. Significantly, by the way. Skids saying, look like Mopar guys' only hope is the Ram. Yeah, I would agree with that. Shane says similar to a 66 Charger. It's very similar. They had a little bit of the same thing going on there, but not as much as the Marlin. It's Tex-Mex every day. Yeah, baby. Woo! Anyway, yeah, we did today too. We went hard in the comida mexicana. So yeah, we did get some of that. So anyway, okay, so nerd stuff out of the way. For you early birds, I wanted to make sure that, you know, my early birds got the nerd, right? So I wanted to give that to you again, just to touch up on it though. I did the calculations on the length, the width, and the height of the new Charger versus a Challenger. And the big difference is that it takes up about 15% more space just in general. It is a much larger car than even the initial report that I was reading was wrong. In fact, it was wrong in the wrong direction though. And we're not talking like a rounding up error, guys. This car, the new Charger versus a Challenger, is 9 inches longer. It's exactly 2 inches wider and 3 whole ass inches taller. Again, you know, do with that information what you will, but I can tell you that is a delta that you just might not be able to get past in terms of power plant. So let's talk about it. So the weight, we know the weight's going to be more. I'm going to say 300 pounds heavier. All right. I'm just going to say 3 bills and let it eat at that point because I don't know a final number. I'm going to be kind of optimistic on 300. When I say 300, it could be 200 pounds or 400 pounds heavier. We don't know, but the math is saying it's going to be heavier either way. The cars are going to come with all-wheel drive. That is going to be a big time game changer. I hate the phrase, but it is. It's a game changer for a muscly kind of car. Guys, I'm going to tell you right now, having all-wheel drive makes just having a car like this a lot of fun because it'll dead hook in all weather. One of the things I like about my F-150, because of course I can't have any kind of live show without mentioning my F-150. No, but Whitey, seriously, that truck is a ball. I put that thing in 4 high, map the throttle, and it dead hooks. The truck down here will go 12s in cold air at full weight. Actually, it wasn't even cold air. It wasn't even really awesome air to begin with. And the thing went a 13, what was it, a 1315? 104 miles an hour. I would say that thing's moving, right? And so considering this vehicle with the standard output is going to be, not that much lighter, about 500 pounds lighter, it's definitely going to run good. But it'll do that in all weather conditions. It doesn't matter. Plus, it's a turbocharged 6-cylinder. And I know you're going to say, all right, it's a 6. We want to be 8. I understand that. We'll talk about that in a minute. But a turbocharged engine is a cheat code. A turbocharged engine will make the same horsepower at sea level as it does at mile high. And that means something, believe me when I tell you. And it will actually, again, turbochargers are cheat codes, and you're going to want the extra power when it comes to the added weight of this thing. So it's got added power with the 6-cylinder, but it's a turbocharged 6-cylinder, so it makes that power at all altitudes. I'm not really concerned with fuel economy because nobody watching this channel gives a rat's ass about fuel economy in their Mopars. But what I am concerned with a little bit is in, do you call it reliability? Long-term reliability, I guess, is the main thing. I'm not really sure that we've had these engines down on the ground long enough to sort them out. Even in the pickup trucks and in the Wagoneers, I don't think these things have been beaten on enough to really show any signs of failure, not at a much larger or an alarming rate over the outgoing Hemi. I will say this. They are not designed to run on 87 octane. So if we're talking fuel economy, that's whatever, but we're talking performance here. And guys, the truck that I drove, and I keep going back to this, the truck that I drove with the Hurricane 6, which is a Longhorn. Let me see if I can go through this. It was Longhorn 355 gear, 4-wheel drive, crew cab. Really pretty truck. Anyway, that's the truck that I drove, and it was a turd. But come to find out, it had 87 octane in it. As I went back and looked for friends of mine and looked at other reports and everything else on this engine, it really isn't put together to run on 87 octane. Minimum is 89. And I mean bare minimum. Like if you're in a pinch, you put in 89. It really needs to run on premium gas. I don't care what the owner's manual says. If you go and read the addendums, and I'd done a show on this in the past where I put the addendum, I just basically was showing the addendum saying, look, standard output or high output, they're set up to optimize or to make advertised horsepower. They say optimized, but in this case, you have to read this as advertised horsepower. With 91 octane, the HO variant is mandatory that you run premium. There ain't no you can run 89 if you want to. It ain't going to work. So, yeah, that's going to be a deciding issue coming into what people are thinking about with this particular car. Now, I want to talk about potentials for a V8. But before we talk about a potential for a V8, we've got to agree to some terms. And what I mean by that is this. If you're talking about the V8, we have to agree that it ain't going to be the 5.7. It can't be. Because if you put the 5.7 in this car, it's not going to have enough power to move it properly. The car is going to weigh practically as much as a pickup truck does. I mean, and I mean that in all sincerity. I mean, Buffy, remember, guys, I still have my 2017 Ram. It's got 212,000 miles on it, matter of fact. But this car is not going to weigh, they're talking about the Charger, isn't going to weigh significantly less than my pickup truck. Now I can tell you how that thing runs, and it ain't a sports car. I mean, it's quick. It's a fun truck to drive. Don't take this the wrong way, but no. Okay, just stop. So now we're going to agree to not even talk about the 5.7. So the only other Hemi that you would put in it is the 6.4. Now with what's his name, the outgoing, I never can remember the guy's name, the guy that looks like a walking corpse, that freaking CEO dude from Stellantis who self-ejected. And with new administration coming on board and relaxing EPA regulations and that stupid EV mandate, which is like, it's anyway. Let's pretend for just a second that Dodge doesn't try to redevelop the wheel here with a new V8, 4-valve, 4.5 to 5.5 liter. It doesn't do that, and it puts the 6.4 into this platform. The problem with putting a 6.4, and let's pretend like it fits, because right now we know that it won't. The shock towers are too narrow. You've got issues with the substructure of this thing. It's all designed around having a 6-cylinder engine. This is stuff that can be engineered around, but at what cost? Is it viable is the question that I'm asking. I don't know. But let's, again, for the sake of argument, say that it is. Say that it's easy. And I will admit the LX platform doesn't have the biggest engine bay anyway. So I digress. You put the V8 in the thing because people would want it as a V8. What happens, though, with that car? Because remember, now with the V8, it's already an instant 100-pound weight gain right off the bat. Yeah, it's going to be a different driving experience. It's going to have instant torque. But you put this thing up against even a standard output, and the delta is not going to be as great as what it is currently with the 5.7 liter. In fact, it's going to be eerily closely matched. Okay, so far off to a little bit of a rough start, and it will get absolutely, and I know this because I've driven a Wagoneer with the high output when it was rated at 510 horsepower. That thing flat out spooked me as quick as it was. Not because it was so fast, but it was so much quicker than my 5.7 powered Ram that I had tuned with 355 gears. See what I'm getting at? It's already going to be at a bit of a deficit. Now, I know a lot of guys would say, okay, but I won't buy it with the Hurricane 6. Fair enough. Put a V8 in it. At what price, though? So we can talk about the performance differences, V8, 6-cylinder, turbos, this, that, whatever. All of them require premium gas. So just don't even try to put 89 in it. Just put premium gas in it. So fuel type doesn't matter. Powering the thing, cost-wise, it's going to be the same. If you had a choice in engines, standard output, 6.4 liter, or high output, what would you go with? And what price would you not go with? So here's where I'm going with this. The standard output car, we don't have pricing on it, but I'm going to go out on a limb here and just try to hoop this from freaking downtown. I'm going to say $45,000 to $47,000, and that's being optimistic. That's for a base model car. I mean, if you have $45,000 to spend, do you use that to buy the standard output Charger 2-door? Keep in mind, it's all-wheel drive, okay? What would the V8 cost? Another 10 grand? That's $55,000. That's not really a bad deal for a 392 powered hot rod if it could be 55,000. I'm afraid that it's going to be more like 60. And with the high output variant looking like it might be like closer to 65, we don't have pricing yet though. And there's been a lot of speculation that the cost of this thing was going to be between $40,000 and $55,000. It's still expensive, but it's doable. I think the problem is once this car eclipses $60,000, it is a 100% non-starter for a lot of folks. And the reason for that is we're talking about the Charger right now as though no other cars exist on the planet that would compete with it as buying it new. I don't want to talk about what used to be. But what we're talking about is the new stuff right now. So if you're going to buy a brand new car, and let's say you've got $50,000, and let's pretend for just a minute that you can pick up one of these variants for around 50 grand. It's going to fall in that range. We just don't know what car is going to be attainable there. $50,000 is a lot of money, especially for one that's only making 420 horsepower. When the Mustang is out there and it's making a lot more, 490 right now, rounding up, it's also scaring the hell out of Supra territory in terms of pricing. And I've had a little bit of a crush on that car since I first laid eyes on them, still kind of do a little bit. That $50,000 right there in the Supra. What about the Z car? The Z car is a little bit less expensive at about $47,000. It's not nearly as powerful, but it's still damn powerful enough. And it's sporty. It's a true sports car. And if you like the feel and the handling and the response and the road feel that you get from one of these types of vehicles, the new Charger isn't an option. And this is where it gets it fucking pickles my shit. We all collectively, and I'm not saying this for effect, guys. If I were to do a poll on this, it'd be so heavily tilted in one direction. All of us thought that this car was going to be smaller. All of us thought that the new Charger was going to somehow be slightly smaller, maybe the same width or maybe half an inch or so more narrow and shorter. It was going to be lighter. It was going to be more agile. It was going to be more of a sporty car, something that you could put up against the Mustang, for example, as a sporting sports car, like a pony car-ish, right? Still a little bit bigger, still a little bit heavier, but with all-wheel drive and with all these other performance attributes that, well, would give the Dodge an advantage over the Mustang. Practically everybody was hoping for that. They were saying that, oh, it's going to be smaller. It's more of a sporty da-da-da-da-da-da. And I kept saying, no, dude, I don't know. They haven't said anything yet. Come to find out, this thing takes up 15% more of the atmosphere to put on the ground. That is insane. This car is 15% larger than the car that it is replacing. What the hell? That is going in the exact opposite direction from what people have been looking for. And you thought, let me tell you something, you thought people were making fun of the Charger and the Challenger, the LX platform cars, for being heavy? Holy crap, talk about doubling down. And doubling down on a car that a lot of folks do not find as attractive. So, and you've seen a Challenger before, right? They're freaking huge. What people don't realize, if you've never, and you have, if you're watching this video, I'm sure, ridden in or driven or at least have seen a Challenger. For a two-door, they're not exactly small cars. You know, the Charger is, to my eye, in many ways, more proportionately correct than the Challenger. Although the Challenger nails the dimensions, it's just big for the dimensions that it has. Nothing wrong with that. But the reality is, and I mean this with all the love in my heart, the reality is that this new car that was supposed to be smaller, more nimble, it's being powered by a 6-cylinder. It's going to be maybe a direct line of sight competitor, or at least within the same range as a Mustang, is now nowhere to be found near this thing in terms of a direct line of sight comparison. Guys, I'll put it to you in these terms. Instead, I know that this will not make any sense, but if you look at it from a practical standpoint, it would have been better if they would have just made this thing into a crossover style SUV, kind of like an X5. You know what I'm saying? Like the kind of SUVs that are a lot more car than SUV, but it's still kind of a car, but it's also an SUV. That's really what Dodge should have done with this thing. I'm sorry. I know that a lot of you guys are going to disagree with me on that, but when you look at the proportions and you look at the size of this thing, the fact that it is significantly larger, like significantly larger than the Challenger and the Charger for that matter, because the Challenger and Charger, believe it or not, are not that far off dimensionally. With this car taking up 15% more of the atmosphere, like if you're to have a box, it's that much of a difference in size. When you put it in that kind of perspective, why not just turn the thing into a flipping SUV? It's got a hatchback. That could have been a flip-up door. They could have rounded the back end of this thing off, whatever, okay? But this thing is not a car anymore in my eyes. Another way you can look at it is, it's almost like a Malaise era Luxo personal coupe. Like, I don't want to say Mark III Lincoln because that's one of my all-time favorite cars, but it's kind of almost it's like a Mark IV Lincoln, right? Like this big ass car, but it's a two-door, like obnoxiously big for a two-door. That's what this car is. And again, it is 15% larger than the Challenger. Like, what the hell? How does that even happen, guys? I don't know. Anyway, I've been rambling on for a while. Let's dive back into the comments, check in with you guys. Let's see. Folks asking, what's your dream car regardless of price? Dream car regardless of price? I don't really have one because it would depend on what I would be using it for. Probably if I was just going to go play with one and enjoy it, it would be probably a Pantera, De Tomaso Pantera. But that being said, man, I don't know. GT3 Porsche's up there too. Can't go wrong with any of those. Phase 4 Falcon GT HO. Skid saying, even Ram missed the mark. You should have been able to get into an HO version for at least low 60s. Well, that's a whole different, yeah. Tim will see about a lower trim level with an available HO Hurricane. If not a 6.4. So believe it or not, you want to talk about pissed. I was on the other side of the moon pissed off when I found out that, so originally the HO was going to be available in every trim option except for the tradesman. And that's what I was told for a couple of months leading up to me ordering, or I was going to be ordering my Ram. And when I found out that that wasn't the case and that I was going to have to spend $80,000 to get the high output version, I was like, dude, I'm done. I'm out. I'm not even going to be a player on this vehicle. And that's when I went and picked out my Ford. By the way, my Ford, they gave every flipping rebate you could dig up. Just like, I mean, I kid you not, this was a truck that was on the lot for a while. They really wanted it gone. So I was able to get a really good deal on my truck. But what pissed me the most about the Ram thing was, so you're supposed to be able to get the HO in all variants, but the tradesman. And when I went to order the truck that I wanted, it was literally Stormy, but a crew cab. And that was it. It was going to be the dark gray 4x4 crew cab, HO 355 gear truck. And that was going to be probably the truck that I kept kept forever. That would have been a killer truck long term. But then they said, no, you've got to have a platinum edition or this RHO thing that doesn't even exist yet. And at the time, you guys have to remember, I was starting to have problems with Stormy, and the truck barely had 30,000 miles on it. And look, I'm getting out from underneath this Dodge. It's driving me nuts. And so now I've got Whitey, and Whitey just I mean, it's the truck will darn near run 12-second numbers. It's easily you know, mid 13-second truck. It went a 13:15, and I'm telling you, a little bit of weight reduction, which is just the standard stuff, spare tire, jack, you know, floor mats or whatever. That thing will run if I'm just really aiming to do it. I can get a 12-second number out of that truck. But for the most part, it runs, you know, mid 13s at 102, 103 miles an hour. Pretty quick for a pickup truck, and not anywhere off the mark from what some of the best examples of the standard output Hurricane 6 are running right now, which brings me to my next point. So when we're talking about the Hurricane 6, I know it's more powerful than the Hemi variant. And I mean, it's proven itself this way over and over again, provided you run the right gasoline through the thing. But I'm worried that, I'll put it to you like this. I'm worried that long-term reliability is, I don't know that it's there. And for a lot of guys, that is a determining factor, you know. And a lot of guys don't like the idea of a 3-liter engine that needs 22 or 24 pounds of boost to make 420 horsepower, 470 pound-feet of torque. That is a lot of boost, guys. I'll put it to you like this. It's a 3 engine. Double the displacement to 6 liters, and then double the horsepower. That's what you're looking at if you were to compare it with like the Demon 170, right? So the HO variant would be the equivalent of 1,100 horsepower on 93 octane out of the 6.2 liter that's in the Demon 170. Actually be a little bit more than 1,100, but we're just going to use easy to round numbers here. The Demon 170 has to have E85, and I mean has to have it to run that kind of cylinder pressure equivalent. That's all you need to know. What about the standard output? Well, it's 420 horsepower, double it. That gives you 840. And 840 is about the best you can hope for out of the new Demon on pump gas, like 91 to 93 octane. So you tell me, guys. I question that a little bit, and a lot of people do. And that is why Ford still offers the Coyote in the pickup trucks, because it doesn't matter that a 6-cylinder might make more torque. It doesn't matter that a 6-cylinder get better fuel economy or whatever. People don't necessarily trust that. And for those folks, they offer the V8. And by the way, the Coyote in the trucks, especially the Gen 4, is underrated. So that 400 horsepower that it's quoting, yeah, that's on 87 octane. So just saying. Oh, and the electronics package is really good in that too. Let me get back to you guys. It's good saying muscle truck or even a smaller truck, perhaps a Dakota with a Hurricane would be interesting. Yes, it would. You know, you guys have to remember that back in the day, the Cherokee pickup truck with the whatever it was, the Jeep pickup at the 4-liter 190 horse at one point was the fastest truck in existence at the time. So there's still, Dodge has a history of hot rod pickup trucks, and Kaniskas has a deep history with building hot rods. Martin, thank you very much. I appreciate the contribution, man. This is Martin's 3rd super chat on the live stream. So man, thank you very much for that, bro. Saying he came across a video on the old Pontiac Bonneville racing a 6th gen Charger. It made the 4-door Charger look small. The only cars in this new Dodge will compete with are land yachts of old. So it's funny you should say it that way. When you look at how big this car is going to be, you have to consider where the older car came from. So let's let me put this into perspective as how absurdly large this new Charger is by comparison. The new Charger, or I'm sorry, the outgoing Challenger and Charger are based on the W211 and W212 Mercedes-Benz platform. I know this because it's been famously reported, but I owned a W211 E63 AMG. That car is identical to a Charger today. The way that the doors open and close, the sound of the thing, the dimensions, the way they feel to drive, all of that is 100% W211 and W212 Mercedes-Benz, which is to say E-Class body dimensions and E-Class platform with C-Class, some C-Class suspension bits. But that's it. So you're already talking about a large four-door sedan. And when the Charger was released in 2008, the people initially, when they saw it, go, oh my God, that car is gorgeous. It is an exact line for line interpretation for what the 1970 Challenger would have given you. And then they saw it in person and it's like, holy crap, this thing is big. Like, it's a big car for the dimensions that it has. And I'd even said at one point, man, look, my Challenger scratched every itch that I ever had for a Mopar. It looks like an E body. It's the size of a B body and it rides like a C body. I don't know what the hell you could ask for anymore, but here you go. It's big, fast, reliable. What more could you love or ask for? Well, that's all fine and good. But the problem is that now this new Charger is bigger by a significant margin. It's bigger by the difference of an E-Class to a C-Class, or rather, I should say an E-Class to an S-Class. I meant to say S earlier. Mercedes. It's bigger. Like, the whole damn thing is going to be bigger. So, I don't, and what Mark's getting at is exactly right. I mean, at some point, this car, you can't compare it to modern vehicles. You can't compare the new Charger to a Mustang because you can literally practically fit two Mustangs into the same place. Let's do that math real quick, guys. Let's do a little bit of quick math. I'm going to do 2024 Mustang dimensions. Oh, I screwed that all up. So let's look at this. It is 189. We're going to do this 189, 75, and 55. So let's do some quick math, boys. Just for the sake of argument, we're going to go 189 times 75 times 55, 779,000 cubic inches versus 971. So we're going to divide 779,625 by 971,066. 0.082. Guys, so let me explain what I just did. It is a full 20% larger than a Mustang. Okay, so you literally can't compare. And what I'm talking about is just how big of a box would you need to ship one of them, right? So the new Charger is 14% larger than the Challenger. It is 20% larger than the Mustang. At some point, you can't, in good faith and in good conscience, compare this car to a Mustang. You can't. It's like, it's again, and I'll keep making this argument at this stage of the game. Now that I've done math and I've looked at it, it's almost like you're comparing like a Grand Cherokee to a Mustang. Let's do that. Let's do, what was it? I'm going to do 2019 Trackhawk dimensions. So 189, let's call it 190, 77, 69. This is going to be close. This is going to be close, guys. Hold on, let me pull up the calculator. You can't. I really should get some kind of a screen sharing on this. So what do we say? This is for the Trackhawk. 190 times 77 times 69. Okay, so get a load of this, guys. I'm gonna blow your mind. So you guys are familiar with a Trackhawk, right? That's the Jeep Grand Cherokee SUV that was my all-time favorite. So you asked earlier what my favorite car was. Grand Cherokee is one of them. Okay, it occupies 1,009,470 cubic inches worth of box that you would need to put this thing into. So we're going to put 1,009,470. Okay, so we're going to take 971,066, which is what the new Charger is. Divide that by 1,009,470.961. Guys, the new Charger is 96.19% the size of a Grand Cherokee. And keep in mind, the Grand Cherokee is significantly taller. The Grand Cherokee is significantly taller by a nice chunk. So let's do footprint. Okay, we're going to look at footprint and see what the difference is here. So let me pull those dimensions real quick again for the, let me pull the dimensions for the 2025 Charger. This is so funny. Oh, where'd they go? Let me try pulling this again. I want to make sure I get you the exact dimensions, because this is pretty funny. If I look it up under 26. Oh, hell. Now I can't find the damn thing. Where'd it go? Ah, shit. Okay. Anyway, to put it in perspective, guys, it's the same size. It really is. It's going to end up being, the same size as the SUV that's out there. And that's the scary part. When you're looking at this car, it is the size of a freaking Grand Cherokee or a flipping, well, just pick one. It doesn't matter which you do, any of the mid-size SUVs, like a Durango, for example. Damn, I'm trying to find this thing. Oh, and I can't do it. Son of a bitch. I just had it too. This is driving me nuts. Let me try one other thing. I just had it pulled up. Let's do this. We're going to find it here in just a second. Damn it, I just had it pulled up. Anyway, the point that I'm getting to is this. It's a freaking monster. It's 15% larger, and it's the size of an SUV. They may as well have just made it a crossover, and it would have at least gone in lockstep with the, at least walked in lockstep with the is already permeating it. But yeah, compared to, and I got to go back and find it, but compared to the Grand Cherokee, which is significantly taller, it's 4% off from being the same size. But I'm telling you right now, the footprint itself, it's actually going to have a larger footprint because the car is 207 inches long. So it's longer than the Grand Cherokee by a chunk. It's kind of crazy to think of in that respect. Anyway, let me catch back up with you guys. Stuart's asking, will Ram put out a muscle car? Maybe a muscle truck, but we'll see. And yeah, Ram missed the mark on a few things, especially when it comes to price for that engine combination. Should be able to get it in all of the levels. Yeah, Dakota with it. If they could come out with a Dakota with that Hurricane, that'd be pretty sick. Muscle, yeah, Warlock or a Little Red Express. Listen, if Kaniskis was smart, that's what he would drop, and he'd figure out a way to have a regular cab short bed too. Let's see. Yeah, we just don't know what the longevity is realistically long term with these engines yet. And what happens if you run the thing on 87 octane for any real length of time? That's another issue that you're going to run into with these cars. You find people start running cheap gas in these things, and that can cause all kinds of problems, not the least of which is just going to run like crap. Like the one that I drove with regular gas in it was, you wouldn't want to spend much time with that vehicle. I can promise you that. Skid's saying buying a Mustang GT over a Charger twin turbo 6. A lot of folks will. Skid's asking, will GM revive the Camaro? Shoot, man. I don't know. We've been told no so many times on that I don't even consider the Camaro so much anymore. Kia Stinger is actually a fun car. There's one that lives 2 houses down from me. Oh, Ryan's saying something's hot rod and one. Very nice. Yeah, 2JZ on 22 was it was easily in the 750 range for sure. Like with a hybrid, a 77 or a 75 Garrett single, yeah. All day, every day. So when you think about the amount of boost these things are running versus the power that they're making, it's not very good. And especially when you look at the HO variant, that thing is basically running 2 bar of boost. And what that means is whenever you read or hear bar or atmospheres at sea level, you've got 14.7 PSI of air pressure holding everything together. Doubling that, running basically, we'll call it 15 pounds of boost, is a full atmosphere. So you're in effect doubling the amount of air that's going into the engine. Well, in this case, you are tripling it because you have atmosphere plus atmosphere at 14, or call it 15, plus another atmosphere at 15. Just call it 30 pounds of boost. It's 26 though, or 26 to 28. So that'll give you an idea of just how much boost that thing is making. Numbers like that, boost numbers like that, are typically, guys, that's reserved for like race applications. You're literally running about half the boost that GTRs run when they are big power GTRs. Big power numbers with GTRs started around 60 pounds of boost. They can go as high as over 100, but that's with billet blocks and stuff like that. Realistically, say, 45 to 60 pounds of boost is about as much as you're going to want to run on the street. So yeah, it's about half that, but those cars are also making 1,300 horsepower. So really comparing apples to, bananas. 47 Jeep, dude. 47 Jeep. It's a Mercedes-Benz engine. The 47 was, and it does fly, man. It's F-150. Tell you what, F-150 does good work. Martin saying they almost got to that Bonneville length, not quite 214, dude. I mean, it's 6 inches off, man. 5 inches off. Yeah, 207 or 209 versus 214. It's like the Bonneville, dude. It's a C body. It's ridiculously big, guys. That's the thing that bothers me the most. And Macaroni, bro, you and me, you and I, we're rowing the same boat with that. It is unjustifiable to have never put a 6.4 in a Ram. I'll take it a step further than that. There was the RT Ram, which is one of my all-time favorite trucks, but it was a 5.7. And I just, like, why? You could just put a 6.4, it's the same block, okay? Or it's different, but it's the same dimension, same to everything. You just take one out, right in. Leave the two manifolds on it, route an exhaust around that, and ta-da! 475, 485, depending on the state of tune, horsepower engine. And why that never happened still, that is lost on me. Eric is in. What's up, man? Yeah, I mean, Ryan, you're exactly right. One of the new trucks with a Little Red Express would be amazing. And to be fair, I mean, not for nothing, but it wouldn't be that much different in terms of performance between the truck and the car, given the weight of what this thing may end up looking like. So, anyways, guys, we're coming up on an hour. I've got to start wrapping this up, but man, I want to thank each and every one of you guys for hanging out. I really do appreciate it. Martin, bro, I appreciate the support. This is Martin's third super chat on a stream, man. I truly do appreciate that, buddy. I really do. I appreciate the interaction. Appreciate you. But yeah, guys, I gotta start wrapping it up. But listen, this new Charger, it ain't what we thought it was going to be. It's not even close. In fact, they ran in the opposite direction. We talk about doubling down on a theme here. Dodge literally went the opposite direction of what people were asking them to do. So we'll have to see. We'll have to wait for this thing to show up. It's got the outward dimensions of a 67 Marlin, which I just wanted to share that with you. I was like, man, I know this. I've before. By the way, you also see this a lot with import sedans. So when you're driving down the road and you see like an import 4-door sedan, they all of them have the same exact weird extended back and then drop down type of a look to them. That's what it is. So anyway, with that, I'm going to wrap it up. Guys, get out there and do something cool for somebody. Chances are they need it way more than you know, and we will catch you on the next one. Thanks again, guys.